Good afternoon. I am Saad Al-Aziz, the owner and head instructor of Semper Fortis Jiu Jitsu here in San Antonio, Texas, and I'm here to tackle this week's question of the week, which was a uniquely personal question. Due to my age and various injuries, one of my friends said, "Hey, Saad, have you thought about just giving up competition?" And like those people that know me know I like to compete, and I probably enter 4 or 5 jiu-jitsu competitions a year, um, and it gives me a goal, gives me something to strive for. Um, like this year so far, I've done the Nogi Pan American Championships. Um, Next month, I do the Austin Open. Um, then in September, I'm doing the Pan Americans Gi Championship. And then in November, I'm gonna do the World Master Championships. Um, and then there might be another tournament that'll come along that I'll throw my hat in. And for me, I like to throw my hat into these tournaments because it gives me a goal to work towards. So it's like, I know like next month I'm going to do the Austin Open. So, I'm going to train a little bit harder. I'm going to work on some more things to improve myself. Where like if I didn't have a tournament to sort of like mark on the calendar, maybe, be like, my body doesn't feel so great today. I won't roll. I won't do any sparring today. Or maybe I wouldn't train as hard. But when I have a competition set on the calendar, it just gives me something to strive for. So in my mind, I'm just going to keep competing. And I understand like the concern or the concept of, man, is it almost time to like walk away and hang up competition? Because I turned 53 in a couple months. Both my right and my left knee are surgically repaired. I have a partially torn right bicep. Had a hernia operation a couple years ago. Got a constant bad back, that flares up from, and causes me difficulty. And when you're in your 50s, injuries heal a lot slower than when you're in your 20s. And most of these injuries actually are not from Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. Most of the injuries that I have are, from my 33 years in the U.S. Navy, working with the Marines and doing different deployments. Is really the cause of most of my degenerative injuries. But when I look at competition, especially jiu-jitsu competition, is I think an athlete, as long as they're not in danger of being seriously injured, like they should keep going and walk away on their own terms whenever they want to stop competing, not when the world at large says, oh, they should give it up. Like for instance, last year, Tom Brady, I think he's like 43 years old. And the New England Patriots had decided that basically, it was time for him to retire and they was going to move on. And Tom Brady decided he was going to keep playing football. And so he signed a contract with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I remember a lot of people saying, oh, he's past his prime. He's going to diminish or somehow tarnish his legacy by sticking around too long. And with all that said, the guy ends up leading the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to the Super Bowl championship. So, although he was considered too old and maybe past his prime to be a quarterback in the NFL, all the so-called experts were wrong. And he overcame, Father Time and led his team to a Super Bowl victory. And the New England Patriots did not do well at all without him. I don't even think they made the playoffs, which is weird for them. And then, the same thing happened with like Michael Jordan. He went from being the best basketball player in the NBA, and then he came back in his last few years. He was playing with Washington. I can't remember if they was called the Bullets back then or if they had already switched their name to the Wizards. And I remember people once again saying, oh, he's tarnishing his legacy because he's no longer the best player in the NBA, and he's not looking as good as he used to. And what my philosophy is that you only have one life, that we know of, and you should enjoy it. If you can continue to compete and enjoy that, why walk away and cut off something that you enjoy when you can just keep going. Like maybe you can't keep competing at the same level that you at once did, like at the peak of your athletic performance. But if you can continue to go and enjoy what you're doing, why not keep going? So that's the way I look at it. It's like I'm not the athlete I was in my 20s for sure. I have multiple surgeries, I have multiple injuries, but I still enjoy what I'm doing. So I don't see any reason to walk away. And then when I go to some of these tournaments, man, I'll see dudes out there, 70 some years old, and they're still going at it. Why? Because they enjoy it. So not only for me, but for my friends, for my students, if you enjoy competing, it doesn't really matter, that father time has taken something from you, or maybe age or injuries. If you can compete and be the best you can be, it may not be enough to be the champion. Like maybe you're not going to be the champion anymore. And you see athletes do that. Like once they realize they're on the decline, they step away, and they want to step away on top. And I respect that. Where for me, I just want to keep competing. I want to keep striving to be the best I can be. One of the guys in our school that inspires me is Domingo. Domingo, he lost his arm in Iraq, in service to our country as a member of the U.S. Army. And so he still competes in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu tournaments against people that have all their limbs. He manages to win some matches too. Would he do better if he had all of his limbs? Sure. And then his teenage son, woke him up last weekend. He's like, "Dad, let's go play basketball. I think I can get you." And Domingo's like, "Okay, let's go." And and Domingo, by the way, beat his teenage son. Just in case his teenage son's watching, he's like, "Oh, I wonder what happened." Oh, Domingo won that game. I think his son's 13 or 14 now. Eventually his son will surpass him. And would Domingo have done better, had he had, both of his arms? Sure. But he's still able to play basketball at an impressively high level, without having, of course he's not as good as he was when he was in his 20s, I'm sure. But he's still good. He's still fighting, and it's like, man, that's how I look at life. It's like, as long as I have breath in my lungs, and as long as I can go, man, I want to go compete. Will I always win gold? Yeah, no. Maybe I'll never win another gold medal, But I enjoy the competition. I enjoy stepping out to see, like, man, what's going to happen when me and this other person who's trained really hard for this, because when I go to competitions, they put me against other black belts. So it's against other people that are really good and know jiu-jitsu. And I know they've trained hard. I know they're ready for me. And I want to bring my best, whatever that best is. Maybe I'm not the athlete I was in my 20s. Well, for sure I'm not the athlete I was in my 20s. But I can be the best I could be today. And that's what I'm striving for. So when will I stop competing? Yeah, I don't know. I don't think ever. As long as I can step on the mats and compete and represent myself in a respectful way, I'm going to keep going because I enjoy it. I love it, actually. And there's a thrill to it. And I've enjoyed the fighting arts, since I was a kid. Now, when I was a kid, that was a problem because I would get suspended from school. Because I'd be like, "Oh yeah, let's fight." And that was a problem. Now that I'm an adult and I'm teaching jiu-jitsu school classes, it's like, it's okay to be a fighter. But I boxed in the 80s until one day my doctor was like, "Hey, you keep getting these concussions. You need to find a sport that doesn't require you to get hit in the head." So I transitioned out of boxing into Hapkido, and then I discovered Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and man, I love this. And until my doctor comes along one day and says, "Hey, you need to find something else to do," I'm gonna keep doing this. And I just love it. That's why I do it. I don't compete. Like when I compete, I give my absolute very best to win every single match. But I haven't won a major tournament in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu since I think 2017 was the last time I won a major International Brazilian Jiu Jitsu Federation tournament. So it's been 4 years. I've been on the podium. I've collected, some bronze medals at the Worlds and at Pan Americans, but I haven't won. But my goal is I want to win the Pan American Championships one day. I want to get a gold medal, and then one day I want to win the World Masters Championships. I want to get that gold medal. And maybe after I win a gold medal in the Pan American Championships and the World Master Championships, I'll think about retiring. But until then, I'm just going to keep going. So that's the answer to this week's question. When are you going to walk away from jiu-jitsu competition? When I have to? Or maybe after I win my gold medal in the World Masters and the Pan American Championships. And I'm competing in both those this year. So maybe it'll happen this year. No, I'm just kidding. Even if I win gold, I'm not walking away. I love this. So do what you love as long as you can do it. And as long as it's not a detriment to your health. I suppose, like if you was in boxing or MMA and you're taking blows to the head and you've lost your quickness and you can't protect yourself, that's some serious damage that you could end up taking. And, then I think a fighter needs to look at hey, it's time to walk away. But, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournaments are very safe. If I get caught in a submission, all I have to do is just tap and then I walk out intact. So I'm going to do my best not to get caught in a submission, but if I do, I'll tap and it'll be okay. And I'll live to fight another day. All right, so that's this week's question. Don't plan on quitting jiu-jitsu competitions anytime soon. So Austin Open is coming up next month. So if any of y'all are interested in signing, registration is almost closed for that. So that's a good tournament to do. It's a great tournament, actually. And then Pan American Championships is coming up, I think, early September in Florida. That is an amazing tournament. So if you want to make that Florida trip with me, let's do it. And then in November, the World Master Championships is going to happen in Las Vegas, Nevada. And that is an incredible tournament. It's a lot of fun because you go there and you see some of the legends of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu just walking around. You see these awesome competitors, these matches. They're just phenomenal matches. It's a great experience. And I encourage everybody to try to do it if you can. If you got the time to hit one of these tournaments, man, go compete. See what happens. Test yourself out. Because even as an older man, I want to still test myself out. I may be an old lion, but I can still roar a little bit. So stand by. I'm gonna try to roar. All right. See y'all next week. And as I've said before, if you got a question, shoot a question in below. See me, ask a question, and I will try to address that topic. All right. Ciao.